Hello, everybody. Greetings. Welcome one, welcome all. Finally. I have started this project. I've been putting this off for at least 6 or 7 months. Some of you out there know that. I am late to the podcast game, but we're going to move forward with this. There's a bunch of things that I have to say, I want to say. I think I can put some smiles and laughter on millions of faces out there. Hopefully that does happen. So I guess welcome to the Mad Valid Mike podcast. Episode 1, This Is Me. So what I'm going to do quickly is just go over a quick bio, and then we're going to get to the nuts and the bolts of what I think this is going to be, what I want this to be, what I believe is going to, be part of the solution of, I guess, bringing us all together. I'm certainly not going to save the world with this podcast, but I want to be part of the solution, not the problem, as far as everyone, we all seem to be so divided, whether it be politically or racially, whatever. Let's all kind of get together. Let's laugh about stuff, laugh at each other, all those good things. So who am I? I am Michael J. Kuth. I was born in Evanston, Illinois, back in 1975. I was raised in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, Arlington Heights mainly, went to Buffalo Grove High School. I have one sister. She is 2 years older than me. I don't know how much I want to get into details about my sister and my parents and my family. Let's make sure that they're okay with this first. I'm going to get probably a little bit deep into me. Just kind of go into a bunch of things that have brought me to this point and in that. So, went to Buffalo Grove High School. Big Bears fan, as you can see a Bears thing back here. I was a big Michael Jordan fan, which I don't know if, I think there's some over there. So big Bulls fan through the 90s. Cubs, not Sox. Cubs is the way to be. Became a Blackhawks fan later on. Played a lot of basketball in my life up until probably the end of college, and I've gotten older and just kind of gotten away from it. I would like to get back to it at some point, but I feel like 1993, when I was the point guard of my varsity team, the Buffalo Grove Bison, I think this thing up here, that was the highlight of my life so far. Being voted MVP of my suburban Chicago varsity basketball team that I believe was 18-9, but I digress. We might get into that at some point. Mom and Dad are still alive and kicking, doing well. They are a great story. My father will definitely be on this podcast as a special guest at some point. I will add on to that later in this episode. After high school, I went to college. University of Florida is what I went to. My sister went to University of South Florida, so I kind of followed her. My parents followed me. We both graduated. We both moved back up to the Midwest. I've been kind of all over the place. I went to Vegas for 5 years, lived in Wisconsin for a couple of years. I think I'm a Midwestern guy. I'm in Indiana right now. I've been here for 7 years. I live about an hour northeast of Indianapolis. It's not bad. I'm a Midwestern guy, so I feel like I get along with most people in the Midwest. I've got kind of the demeanor for the Midwest, laid back a little bit. But having said that, I have begun my plans for the descent south. I don't want winters anymore. I know they'll still be, if I move down to Florida, be closer to the parents, there'll be some 30s and 40 degree. I don't think I'll see snow again. Maybe I will, but I probably won't. Probably won't have to de-ice my car ever again. Just kind of getting to that point where nothing's really holding me here. I do have some family in Indiana. They're awesome people, aunt and uncle and a cousin. I have a bunch of family in Illinois still, and there's some in Arizona, I believe. Cousin Katie's up in Canada. So there's people all around. and I will reach out to each and every one of you at some point to kind of reconnect. So the main reason why I'm starting this podcast right now is to get this following apology out. Everyone that I've come across in my life, from grade school to high school to college, co-workers after the fact, up until now, I haven't really, abandoned is kind of a tough word. So like high school friends, college friends, fraternity brothers, anyone that I've become friends with, got close with or not, I've had not many, but I've had a few relationships with women that obviously I'm still single, never had kids, so obviously those didn't work out. Probably mostly my fault. This apology is for all of you, family members, obviously too, cousins, aunts, uncles. I have not wanted to be in touch with most of you for a multitude of reasons. Number one being, I've never been happy with where I am in life, and I'm getting better. I'm becoming more proud of who I am and what I've become, especially over the last 10 years or so. But I've been kind of ashamed in times, and I've got a jealousy problem. I've got an envy problem. I was on social media, Facebook mostly, for a while. I think from like 2010 to 2016, and I quit after the 2016 election. Was just, no matter what side you were on, it was just so annoying. Every post was, and it might be like that this year too. But I kind of lost my train of thought there. So I've seen through social media, your all accounts, obviously everyone puts their best foot forward usually on social media, so everyone's life is not as perfect as it seems. Some of that is probably changing these days, where more and more negative things are being posted online. But I've never had a wife. I've never had kids. I've never had, I have a house right now in Indiana, so I'm proud that I found a way to have a house. But I've been a waiter forever, and my life has been, up to this point, for the most part, driven by laziness and fear. And that dawned on me years ago, but I didn't want to say it out loud, or especially not to anybody, that I let it control it. Now, I'm a work in progress. I am far from perfect, but I'm a lot more proud of who I am now than who I was in the past. I'm afraid of a lot less things. Probably as you get older, that happens. But so yeah, I didn't want to reach out to any of you. I know it's a two-way street with phones or email or social media. I get that, but I wasn't exactly accessible for any of you, because even if any of you called me or texted me or direct messaged me on anything, I didn't really want to be found. I didn't really want to talk about anybody, primarily because it's going to be all about your successes, which is great, and I should be happy for all of you. Anybody that I became close with in any part of my life. I've had plenty of therapy on this topic, so it's not like it hasn't been addressed. But jealousy is a problem, and we're working on it daily. I want to be a person that's happy for everybody else's success. I have not been that person for most of my life, and very jealous, and why do they get this, and did they even work hard for that? Do they deserve that? Your life is your life, my life is my life. I should be happy for everyone around me that has success. And if I don't have success, it's nobody's fault but my own. I've had easily my fair share of opportunities. God has blessed me with so many great things. In my 48 years of life, I'm going to be 49 this year, which is probably explains part of this. The whole reason for doing this is because probably having my 4th or 5th midlife crisis, getting close to the 50 mark now, where, all right, how long are you going to be on the planet still? God willing, I'm still going to be on the planet for I'm hoping at least 10 years. No tomorrows are promised to any of us. So, I pray for it. I stopped smoking coming up on 10 years now. I haven't been drunk in, I think it's coming up on 5 years now. Never really did a whole lot of drugs. Smoked a little weed here or there. I might get back into that. I will definitely get back into drinking at some point, but I will probably never do hard liquor again. I was becoming even a bigger jerk than I usually was, and angry at the world and all that stuff. And then a medical event, which I'll go into in some other podcast episode, kind of put everything in perspective and told me, take a break, get everything settled, and then you can drink again. I probably won't smoke again. If a doctor ever comes to me and says you have 6 months to live and there's nothing you can do about it, one of the first things I'll probably do is go to a convenience store and buy a carton of Marlboro Lights. God, I love smoking. It's been 10 years and I still think about it every day. And that's not to judge anybody else. This is just me talking about me. So I was in Vegas for 5 years, from 2009 to 2014. When I got back, I think I was like 220 pounds, and during a checkup from a doctor, the word obese came out, and I was like, what? Me? I was always a runt. I was always skinny. Just kind of let it go, and I was approaching 40, and I was told to start counting calories. I'm like, counting? No, come on. Well, you got to be 2,000 calories a day or less. I'm like, 2,000? Oh, that's easy, whatever. I never counted calories before. I realized within the first 24 hours of my doctor telling me that wow, this is not going to be easy. So anyway, I was 220 at the time. I'm probably 180 now. I was at 170, 175 for like the last 4 or 5 years, which was comfortable. 180 is not bad, but it's certainly not. I know you can tell I'm ripped. No, I'm not. It's not a toned, it's not a muscular 180 at all. So I would be okay if I was 180 and a little bit more toned. We're going to work on that. But I have obviously done some things to hopefully preserve the chances or better my chances of living on the planet. There's a lot more I want to do. I've been a waiter basically my whole life. I've been in and out of sales jobs here and there. Never really found anything that made me a ton of money and or made me happy about what I was doing. I have to believe in what I'm doing. I believe in this. I'm so excited about this. It's going to be not just me talking about myself. I'm going to have guests on every show. There's going to be topics we'll get into here in just a couple of minutes. But so excited about this. Waiting on tables it's been interesting. I worked for Outback Steakhouse for 14, 15 years. Never wanted to be a manager, never wanted to be an owner, none of that. I never had dreams of having my own restaurant. Recently, I've been working at a place called Wolfie's. Awesome owners, unbelievable people, great story. You can look them up at some point. And then the managers I work for have been amazing. So I've been working for them for like 7 years in central Indiana. It's this bar and grill, really amazing building on the lake, on Geese. Met amazing people in these last 7 years, both I've worked with, both I've waited on. It's been awesome, but it's never, I knew that it's never going to get me the resources I want to do some things that I still want to do if I'm on the planet, if God willing, I'm here and alive for years to come. I've never been out of the country somehow. I've had opportunities to do it, I've just never done it. I wouldn't mind a European, I don't like to travel, but I wouldn't mind a European trip, like take a month if I could find a way to afford that and go a bunch of places in Europe. I've always wanted to go to Australia. The flight has scared me off from even looking into it for the most part. I despise flying. It's probably a control thing. I want to go to Canada. Just want to do a little traveling. Mostly I want animals. I've wanted horses and goats and maybe a couple pot-bellied pigs. And I have 2 dogs right now. I have 2 chickens. Uh, the house I recently bought up in the country of, kind of Indiana came with 3 chickens and 2 rabbits. Well, I'll get into that. But I still have 2 chickens. Thelma and Louise, rest in peace, Layla, or Leia. Yeah, rest in peace, Leia. We'll talk about that at some point. I have 2 dogs. Sadie Mae is my golden retriever that I've had for almost 2 years, and I just got Hobbs. He's a black collie, border collie mix, and I got him specifically for her to have a playmate. I love animals. I'm not a vegetarian. I do eat meat, so it's kind of hypocritical in a way. I do not like hypocrisy, but we'll get into that. I want to be around animals. To have horses, to have goats, to have pot-bellied pigs, I need acres of land, and I've never dreamed of having a Lamborghini, or my dream car at one point used to be a Honda Accord. Like, I don't really have, I guess my dream car now is maybe an Infinity Coupe or I do want a truck at some point, maybe a 4Runner, GMC, I'm forgetting, Yukon I think I want, not the XL, just sort of, so hopefully something like this. My creative juices have been flowing recently. I've started playing guitar again, love music, want to get it back into my life. I took about a year or 2-year break from playing guitar. I wrote a bunch of songs, nothing really all that great, but I want to work on those. I finally started taking piano lessons, so I want to bring music back in my life. I don't know if I can incorporate it into this podcast in some way, shape, or form. It's possible. Obviously, I'm going to try and make that happen, but for the most part, from what I've been told, if you're going to do a podcast, you want to talk about things that are engaging. You want to talk about things that you know. First and foremost, I want this to be entertaining. This is for entertainment purposes for you all. Obviously, it might be therapeutic for me. Just getting some of this stuff out and not talking to a therapist, just talking to a phone and imagining I'm actually talking to hundreds of you. I don't have that many friends right now. Facebook, I have 300 friends. I think I have 302 followers on Instagram. I kind of got back into social media to kind of get before. I've been told I needed to do that, get a presence on social media first before I did a podcast. I wasn't able to really gather that many followers. I posted a bunch of things on TikTok and Instagram. The whole China thing on TikTok, I got rid of TikTok. I might get back into that. I don't know, but I still have Instagram. I'm Mad Valid Mike at Instagram. Facebook, I'm on, obviously. So I'm going to need all your help. I've been trying to, I guess, just word of mouth at the people I know in my restaurant that have prominent social media accounts. There are some people there are some celebrities that come in there. There's just one young lady that comes in with her mom every week or so. They love our pretzel breadsticks. And there's a couple of young hostesses, food runners that were like fawning over this girl. And I'm like, who is that? Is that a singer? Is that a actress? Who is that? And they're like, no, she's an influencer. I'm like, and this is somewhat new to me, all this stuff, but she has thousands and thousands and thousands of followers. I'm like, okay, sweet young lady. I looked her up on Instagram. I gave her my information. So I've been trying to connect with people like that. So maybe an episode or two will get into their hands. They find it funny. They like it. Maybe they share it or repost it on their account. It gets to thousands of views. So hopefully that's one way it expands. I'm gonna hopefully get it from you all too. Help me expand. If I ever make it big, which means I'm putting smiles on millions of people's faces and they're tuning into whatever the podcast episode is or whatever it turns into, and then money comes with it, I will be as generous as possible. All I want, well, at some point I'd like a woman in my life. I probably wasn't ready for one till recently because I was so selfish and so self-absorbed, and just getting a couple dogs has made me realize that there's so many other things in life other than you. Taking care of things completely being dependent on you, that's something brand new to me. So, and it's awesome. And I'll probably never have kids, and that's fine. Maybe the woman I meet already has kids and I kind of adopt them as my own, or however, and they're probably adults by now. So it is what it is. Kind of lost my train of thought. Let me look at my notes here. As far as production value for the podcast, you can tell I bought a tripod with a halo light. I'm not even using the halo light right now. I upgraded my phone to an iPhone 15 Pro Max, so that's what the camera's going to be for right now. That's not why it's not exactly why I upgraded. I needed a new phone, but it certainly doesn't hurt to have the upgraded camera or whatever. I have all the content I need. I have 30 years of restaurant stories and anecdotes, and especially the 5 years in Vegas. I started writing a book. I couldn't believe some of the things I was experiencing, some of the things I was seeing, some of the things I was hearing. Gambling, pit bosses, just stories from the restaurant, stories around Las Vegas. So definitely, I have some friends that I'm trying to get involved with me to teach me the technical side of all this. Is there music going to be in the background? So when I have my father on, and when I have guests on every podcast, how do I do the split screen? Do I zoom them in, split screen, make sure their audio is good, make sure their camera's good, graphics on the screen, like, is there going to be a time where I have, like right up here, I'm talking about something and a picture flashes up, a la like a a news broadcast, or, split screen with me and the topic I'm talking about, a video or a picture, a la like a show like Gutfeld, where they have all, sound effects and all that good stuff. So this is all, I want to learn it as quickly as I can. I wanted to get this out. I've been putting it off for so long, and I wanted to make sure I got that apology out to all of you for kind of withdrawing, somewhat abandoning you all. I apologize. I can't say sorry enough for that. There are hundreds of people out there that I've become friends with throughout my life, and for whatever reason, I just didn't want to be a part of your lives, mostly out of selfishness, period. I've never been proud of where I've been or what I've done. I have very little to show for my life on the planet. I am doing everything I can to change that. And I want to be more involved with everyone out, all of the people I've met, all of you. And then for everyone that I haven't met, if anybody's watching this now, I've never met you, I want to put smiles on your face. I want you to laugh at my ridiculous stories, my garbage, my BS. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear in this, but I'll throw a shit in there every once in a while. Fuck yeah. I think I can swear. I don't know if that's going to be bleeped out, but I don't want to swear too much because it's going to lose its effectiveness. It's going to lose its power. So every now and then I'll be going on a rant maybe, and F-bomb comes out. Hopefully it has a nice impact. I don't want this to be about ranting specifically. I don't want to be the next Stephen A. Smith, be it on sports, be it on restaurants, whatever. Kind of circling back. So what is this podcast going to be about? Entertainment, maybe a little bit of education. When I'm talking sports with my dad, or I'm talking restaurants with a fellow server or a fellow bartender, you'll get some restaurant information if you've never been a server before or a bartender before. You'll hear some things terms like 86 and four top and whatever. And if you have been a server or you have been in restaurants, hopefully you can relate to a bunch of our stories and you'll get a giggle out of it, you'll get a chuckle out of it. It's funny. More than likely, it's going to be twice a week, the podcast. My research tells me it's got to be 30 to 45 minutes in that range. Can't really hold people's attention for that long. I know that there's 3-hour radio shows that are also podcasts. I don't know how maybe they shorten some of it, put their best parts in the podcast or just their highlights of the show. This is going to be a podcast starting off with 30 to 45 minutes, probably twice a week. I'm going to start with the two things I know the most are sports and restaurants, specifically restaurant interactions, restaurant terms, just waiting on people from all over the world. When I waited on tables in Vegas for 5 years, I waited on people from all over the world every single day. Just briefly, I can tell you right now that just about 99.9% of Irish people I waited on loved you. Just put a beer in front of you, you are as happy as can be. I don't know if that's just your vacation mode or what. Same with Canadians. Canadians are great people. There are some people from around the world that in my 5 years, not all of them, but a good amount of them, I started to despise. I knew where they were from. I had a feeling I knew exactly what they were going to be asking for. You don't want to be stereotypical. You don't want to group people as one. I will get into that at some point. But all the interactions with all the people around the world, it's been amazing to me. And even working in suburban Chicago, I waited for people all over the world. Central Indiana, I can't believe the diverse kind of person I've waited on, all shapes, sizes, colors, creeds, religions, heard a ton of things. I try to engage a bunch of my tables all the time. I can't believe I, knock on wood, haven't been fired yet for some of the things I've said. I think I've gotten so good at knowing what certain guests I can say to certain guests and what certain guests I absolutely don't want to say things to. I don't want to offend people, but part of comedy and part of making people laugh is offensive. And I think as a country, one of our issues is that people are just too sensitive. Like, just laugh at each other. I laugh at myself. You're going to hear some stories on this podcast. Oh my goodness. 20 years ago, I would do everything I could to take this story, ball it up, put it in a safe, lock it up, throw it in the ocean. I don't want anybody to hear about it. I don't want anybody to know. And now I'm just going to open up and just kind of laugh at myself and have you all laugh at me. The things that have happened to me health-wise, just relationship-wise, friend-wise, work-wise. I think it's going to be awesome to relate that. Again, I think it's going to be therapeutic for me, hopefully entertaining for you. When I was looking at, I've been talking about this podcast for so long. People, what's it going to be about? What's it going to be about? And so many topics have come up, and I just started making a list of the topics that some coworkers talked about, family talked about. Oh, you could talk about this. You could talk about this. Oh, it'd be amazing. And some of these topics, I have a feeling, would get a lot more viewership than what I'm planning on talking about with the restaurants and sports. When I say sports, mostly football, college football, NFL football, fantasy football. I've had podcasts on that. I've been Gators, Florida Gators stuff. I'm not talking about the NBA. I might go into that at some point as to why I just despise the NBA lately. Ugh. I just despise it. So I don't want to talk about that much. But college basketball, I always love college basketball. With the NIL and college, that's getting to a crazy point. But college basketball is still awesome. College football, it's definitely changing, but it's still awesome. I'm definitely, in the fall, I will definitely have my father on, split screen. We've been wanting a radio show for years. We are kind of the yin and yang. We have a lot of things in common, but boy, do we disagree about a lot of things in sports. Oh my goodness. And my mom has heard enough of our arguing and bickering and, just our arguments that go around in circles. But I think it will definitely be entertaining to all of you seeing us interact and our thoughts. But after every game this fall, hopefully we're still alive, still on this planet. I called my dad yesterday to say our goal, both of them, your and my goal right now, is to stay on the planet for at least a year so we can get those podcasts out where the Monday after every Florida Gator football game this fall, we are going to have a podcast on it, and we are going to break down the game and rip on whatever players we want to rip on, laud whatever players we want to laud, talk about the coaching, talk about the opponents for sure. Yeah, so that's going to be awesome. But so restaurants and sports, but here's some other topics that people brought up. You should do a podcast on Billy Ocean, the singer from the 80s. Wanna be your lover, wanna be your... That's one of his songs. There's another one in that Michael Douglas, Danny DeVito, Romancing. I think the sequel to Romancing the Stone, he had a song with that. I remember that video. So talking about Billy Ocean, the vacation movies, all the National Lampoon Vacation movies, for sure. I could do a podcast on that and just have hours and weeks and months and years of material. People would probably watch that all day. I don't know. I mean, I work with a young lady named Audrey, and every single day I ask her how Rusty is. And Mike, I don't have a brother named Rusty. You don't have a brother named Rusty? Are you sure? But your parents are Clark and Ellen, right? Anyway, so love Chevy Chase and all those vacation movies. I can do a podcast on Madden football on P-Bar would love that one. We used to do franchise mode for hours and hours and hours. I remember smoking with that. It was heaven. I haven't played Madden football in years, but maybe at some point I'll get into it again if and when all my other dreams come true. I doubt that'll ever happen, but there's gotta be podcasts on just the game Madden football on Sony PlayStation. Whatever. Sister Hazel is a band. I talk about them a lot, and I sing a lot of their songs. They're a band from Gainesville, Florida, which is where the University of Florida is. That they were just getting big when I was going there. One of my favorite bands. I could do a podcast on them. The only song you probably ever heard from them is "It's Hard to Say What It Is I See in You." That All For You song. They've got I want to say 15 albums, and they 90% of the songs on every single one of them, 9 out of every 10 of their songs is awesome. So I could talk about them forever. Maybe I will. One of my coworkers' name is Ross, this older dude. Last night he goes, "You could do a podcast on my balls, get 2 for 1. I thought that was kind of funny, and I'm like, a podcast on testicles. Whatever. Brat Pack movies in the 80s and 90s. So most of my pop culture comes from the 80s and 90s. When the year 2000 hit and movies started becoming, hip hop hit hard in music, which is fine. It's just not my gig. Movies became superhero movies, every single movie, especially now. I just kind of got away from it. I've seen, a bunch of things. I've listened to some new music here and there, but most of my pop culture is from the 80s, 1980s and 1990s. So if you're around my age, I'll throw in some lines from movies, some movie references, quotes, song lyrics that you will definitely get, and maybe younger people won't. But I told a bunch of younger servers throughout the years that are 20 years younger than me, oh my goodness, go to Google, just type in 1980s movies, 1990s movies. Just start watching a bunch of those. There were such great movies, like the Brat Pack movies, like Breakfast Club and 16 Candles, Fletch, and the vacation movies I talked about. Goes on and on and on. And there has to be tons of podcasts about 80s and 90s movies as well. Maybe that'll be topics. Maybe I'll have just a special one day on that. Who knows? Florida Gator football, I talked about that. Fantasy football. There's millions of those already. Fantasy football podcasts, gambling podcasts. I do a bunch of pools, as most of you know, like Super Bowl squares, and I do the fantasy football, and I'll do brackets for the NCAA tournament that's coming up. I have written down here Canada, so just a podcast on Canada, the country. I don't even know what that means. I guess provinces. I know very little about Canada. I know very little about our own history, but I know very little about Canada's history. I think they have prime ministers now, and if they do, the one they have now is just a complete just tool bag or trash. Trudeau, I think his name. Whatever. I don't know him that much, but what I've seen from him, granted, most of my TV watching is on the right, and they do not like him. The right of this country don't seem to like Trudeau up there, so maybe he's more left than he is right. Anyway, and I have Canadian Geese. I could do a speaking of Canada, I can do an entire podcast on Canadian geese. One of the most annoying creatures on the planet. I've never seen a creature shit more, although my dogs are now starting to show me how much dogs can shit. But Canadian geese shit everywhere. And they do not like being around you, but they'll stop traffic, 100,000 times a day at any point in this country? If they're Canadian geese, why are they always here? Anyway, I can do a podcast on that. Canadian bacon. Just do a thing on Canadian bacon. Hemorrhoids. Yeah, that sounds like an awesome topic. I could do a podcast on hemorrhoids and who has them, and yeah, I'm sure that would get millions of viewers. Strip clubs and strippers. Now that's a better topic. I wouldn't mind doing some recon for that. Maybe doing some research on strip clubs and strippers and getting them in here. I've always thought strip clubs were kind of lame on both ends. I've definitely been to a bunch of them. I happen to like women. I've always been attracted to women. The female body's a beautiful thing. I think I think strip clubs are kind of lame on both sides, but mostly I think lame on my side, in that at least the strippers are getting something, lots of money. I'm assuming there's a lot of drugs involved to be able to act like you like idiots like me or worse day after day after day. So, to each his own. Do what you need to do. It's legal, so have a good time. I could do podcasts on martinis. Sadie and Hobbs, my dog. Thelma and Louise, I could do on my chickens. I have cowbell here. I don't know, a podcast on the cowbell. Maybe have Will Ferrell come in and talk about his famous SNL. I need more cowbell. Oh no, that was I forget his name. Christopher Walken. He was in that sketch too. I have down here, somebody said Pee Wee Herman. Do a podcast on Pee Wee Herman, the life and times of Pee Wee Herman. I think Paul Rubens, he passed away recently. So R.I.P. Pee Wee. He had a couple good movies out. He was a very polarizing character, just in the 80s and 90s. I guess he was around in 2007. Marijuana, that's a huge topic. We could do one on that. WWF wrestling in the 1980s. Oh, the Iron Man, the Iron Sheik, obviously Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Jake the Snake Roberts. Who else? God, I had Paul Orndorff. I had like those figurines in that. One of my favorite Christmas gifts ever was the big WWF ring, and with all those guys, Andre the Giant, and I'm trying to think of the Macho Man and Roddy Piper. I might have to do one on those. Well, whatever. Work wives and work husbands. I have a work wife currently. Her name is Angie. She's awesome. It's a weird kind of thing, work wives and work husbands. I feel like I'll probably do a podcast on that alone, like in the restaurant industry. Every restaurant I've worked at, people had work wives and work husbands through the years, and it's kind of interesting, I guess. I don't know. Maybe not. Pizza, deep dish pizza, Chicago, New York. I could talk about pizza all day. I've got this horrendous new, I don't even know, habit. Homescapes. Fucking phone. It's a game on my phone. Homescapes. Most of it is, it's like a version of Candy Crush, but you're also, for the first year or two of playing it was, you'd be successful at Candy Crush and you'd like build a house and do different rugs and paintings and furniture and all this. Now it's been years of that, and I've probably spent over a couple $1,000 on the stupid hours and hours of Homescapes. My God. I mean, it's kept me out of trouble, I guess, but it's probably more that is probably more addicting. It's probably the most addicting thing I've ever had in my life. The Homescapes game on iPhone. Obviously, you could probably get it on any phone. I do not suggest starting it if you all have better things to do with your time. And then finally, politics. I lean to the right on most things, not all things. I'm pretty much in the middle for the vast majority of things. I continue to hope and pray that there's at least 80% of us that reside in the middle. We have disagreements. We disagree on opinionated things, whatever, but we can learn to live with each other. And then there's 10% fringe right, 10% fringe left that are just somehow have become louder than the rest of us. I'm hoping that it's actually 5% fringe right and 5% fringe left, and there's actually 90% of us in the middle. Who knows what those numbers are? Politics has found a way to permeate just about everything on the planet, especially in this country. So I will try and keep it out of as many things as possible, but it's going to get in there. I don't want to offend people, but it's also a hot topic, especially this year. So we'll get a lot of viewership and a lot of positive comments, a lot of negative comments, a lot of haters, a lot of lovers, whatever. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to start off. The teaser is every episode I want to have possibly song lyrics of the episode, old man tip of the episode. So for instance, today's tip for all you younger people out there: take care of your teeth for the love of God. Oh, they do not get any better through time. So brush a couple times a day at least. Floss every night. Get some fluoride involved every night. Take care of your teeth. That's my old man tip of the episode. I want to have one of those every day. Sports stat of the day, maybe I'll have that. Top 8 list. I'm a big fan of the number 8 for whatever reason. It's been good to me throughout my life. So like the top 8 list. So a teaser for my next podcast that's going to be about restaurants is one of the topics we'll talk about is top 8 things that you can tell that dudes do. You could say in a restaurant setting, but anywhere, that automatically makes you think they're a douchebag. Top 8 things that automatically make guys douchebags that they do. Very excited. I can name off at least 5 of them right now that just bother me. I mean, I'm far from perfect, but like I said, annoying. And then we'll also talk about in the first restaurant podcast, we're going to talk about annoying things that restaurant guests do that restaurant employees absolutely despise. We deal with it. It's part of the gig, and that's fine. It's nothing life-changing or world-changing, but things I've wanted to get out for years about. Just stop it. For instance, if I come up to a party of 12 and one dude or one lady starts talking, we'll all take water. How the fuck do you know that everybody wants water? That's a lot of work for me. And I know it's part of my job. Who are you to talk for the entire table? Sorry, I digress. So yeah, there'll be top 8 things that make a dude a douchebag, annoying restaurant things that guests do. So that's a couple of teasers for the next. I'll definitely have a fellow server or bartender on to be determined. We're gonna roll with this thing. We are going to roll with this thing. I don't want to say I'm throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks, but that might be what it is. As long as there's smiles on your faces and you continue to tune in, I'm going to continue producing episodes. My cousin once told me that 95% of all podcasts end after one episode. I will be making more episodes. Whether you all watch or not is another story. Whether it's just for family members or when I do podcasts with my father, if whoever leaves the world first, the other one will have those podcasts to look back and just watch and enjoy and laugh at, whatever. So we're going to run with this. We're going to get better production value. This episode probably wasn't all that funny. I didn't even know what to wear. So there'll be all sorts of things going on. Songs going on, graphics, all that good stuff. I will end with this. Be good, do good. All of us are hypocritical. All of us sin, I guess. All of us do bad things. But there's different degrees of all of that. I despise hypocrisy. So when I'm hypocritical, I really beat myself up for it. When I'm mean to people for no reason, try to be better. Be good, do good. Let the chips fall where they may. And until next time, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the Mad Ballad Mike podcast. Cheers.